It says rotate your phone.
Good morning. We are here at the Cottage School with some parents and some alumni parents who will give us a testimonial on why they chose Cottage Elementary School. And first, Kathy Olivi, who has Joseph in the school, will start speaking.
You ready? Yes, as Laura said, I have my son Joseph is in the school. He's been here. This is his second full year. We've taken a little bit different path than some other Cottage School parents and families. As Joseph didn't start here until he was in 4th grade. So a lot of the students here start here in preschool and then continue into the elementary school. That was, we didn't actually do that. Joseph was in Montessori schools through preschool, and then we decided to place him in public school when he started in kindergarten in our local district, which worked for a while. And then in 3rd grade, for a number of different reasons, we just realized it wasn't working anymore. And we looked around everywhere, and literally everywhere. At every school I could think of, within probably a 45-minute radius from my house. And we just realized that Cottage School was probably the best fit for Joseph and for us. Which is really, it's kind of interesting that we end up here. My husband's went through Catholic schools his entire life, just about. So convincing him that a place like Cottage School was the best place for Joseph, I thought was going to be a hard sell. But he came here and he saw the curriculum, he spoke to Laura, and within 30 minutes he was like, where do I sign? He just, I think, realized what a great fit it was for him, for our son. So when Joseph started, everybody was asking, like, how is he adjusting? And thinking there was going to be a difficulty in transitioning from a more traditional style of direct teaching, where the child sits and listens to the teacher and is not as much of an active participant in their education, to a school that, to the uninformed observer, looks like it doesn't have a lot of structure, and that the child is kind of left to their own devices, which really isn't the case. But he had absolutely no problem transitioning. There was never a bump or any anxiety on his part, whether it was coming to visit or starting here on the first day. He felt completely comfortable and at ease being here. I think he knew what a warm and nurturing environment it was. I think it was really obvious to him how invested everybody was in his education. And I think we all here, as parents, who choose to send our children to the Cottage School, we hear from naysayers in our families and in the community about the school where the kids learn weaving and folk dancing, which the school is so much more than that. But those particular activities are so essential to the development of a young child. Weaving is so important, and now they're learning sewing as well. So important for fine motor skill development. It's a fun activity. It teaches them patience and perseverance. It's a project that they do over weeks. And for a child to have that kind of focus, I mean, that's a great gift to them, for them to be able to complete such a long-term project, and to be guided in that way. The folk dancing and the emphasis on music and on poetry here is so important for their language development, for their gross motor skill development, and there's so many studies now that has shown that music and movement are essential for academic achievement. And music in particular is very important to the development of math skills, which I'm not exactly sure why. But
And folk dancing to
folk
develop
dancing, yeah.
spatial
awareness, yes.
spatial awareness.
Yep. And it also leads to cooperation and all those less tangible soft skills that are really essential life skills. And then, and never mind the fact that they're learning a minimum of 3 languages, and we just added in a 4th now. My son's so excited to be learning Russian. So, which actually, to share with you a little bit, my son does have a speech impediment, and it was learning so many languages was something that we thought he was going to really have a hard time with. He also has some coordination skills, so we're like, oh, we really don't know how he's going to do with folk dancing. But this is a place where, whether or not you're good at something, it doesn't matter, that you're invited to participate anyhow. And I think that's such a great gift to give to children, and to just people in general, that you can participate in things that you love, and maybe you're not that great at it, but you love anyhow, and that your love for a particular activity shouldn't be rooted in whether or not you are proficient at it, and that it's about starting wherever you are and trying to get better. So more about how much can I grow as an individual, as opposed to where do I measure on the yardstick. And again, with the academics, Joseph is doing 4 to 5 independent research projects a year, and he's choosing topics like Eli Whitney and slavery, and polar bears and climate change. So it's pretty heavy stuff for a 5th grader, 4th and 5th grader, but he really loves it, and he really does enjoy giving the presentations to his classmates. Again, which is something that we thought he would struggle with, but it's really become a source of great pride for him, and he feels like he does it very well, and it's really a tangible way for us to see what he's learning. Recently he was flipping through a book on oceanography, and he knew a lot of the topics that were in the book. He knew about plate tectonics, and he knew about the formation of volcanoes, and he knew about coral reefs. And some of this came from what he was directly being taught at school, and some of this came from his independent research that he was doing. So he's learning how to learn on his own, which is really, again, another wonderful gift. Before leaving public school, we had him tested. Just recently, before the beginning of this year, we had him tested again. And just for the naysayers, he tested so much higher on so many things, including, I think two of the greatest areas of his improvement were reading comprehension and on his receptive and expressive vocabulary. And he was always great at math, so we were not worried about that. But he's testing above his age level now in receptive and expressive vocabulary. So for a kid who struggles with articulation, it's really just amazing to see what the school has done for him, and we're so pleased. And we don't regret for a second sending him here. And I advocate to everyone that this is a really wonderful place for your child.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you very much. And we love to have Joseph here. And would you like to speak now?
Sure.
Joseph's now.
Okay, so this is a little differently. I prepared something in advance, so I'll forgive me, but I'll be reading off my document. I work pretty well when I have time to really think through. And it's been quite some time since my son has been here. So I had to reflect on a lot of what we experienced here. So my name's Nancy, and my son, Mateos, went to school here for 4.5 years, from about 3.5 to when he was almost 8. And so I'm going to read a little bit about my experience and what it meant to our family, myself, Mateos. So, why the cottage school? Little did I know how much I would learn through Lauda and the cottage school during my child's educational journey here. I learned how to be more respectful and nurturing of my child's blooming imagination and desire to create. I learned how to knit again. I learned how to find joy in painting a simple holiday card without judgment. I learned how special it is to see your child want to create and then guide you in how to help them create their own costume for Halloween. And this started about, 4, because he came in 3.5 in the spring, and in the fall he was making his own Halloween costumes here at Cottage. I learned when my child had an idea to make something at home, to pull out all the odd and sundry supplies we had at home and let him go to town with it all. Before buying a toy, I learned to critically assess the toy and the value of it to my child's growing intellect, or how it may devalue his intellect. This assessment was not by research on the internet. You learn to listen to your instincts, your common sense. Was it just a colorful, push-button, happy, plastic, talking musical contraption, or something unique, perhaps made of wood, that could ignite his imagination and intellect, and or nurture his physical development? I learned to seek out art classes that allowed the child to truly create something, not copy something. This was after he left Cottage, when I was desperately seeking something akin to what he had experienced here. Very hard to find, but they are out there, these classes. I learned to sit back, listen, and wonder at my child's twice-yearly class presentations, knowing he was learning the value of being respected for what he had to offer to his teachers and peers. It is a school that endeavors to bring you along for the ride of discovery, with various workshops offered to enlist you in the creative process. In effect, helping you remember what it was like to gently discover a new skill, or now, for most of us, a dormant skill as adults. The Cottage School curriculum helps you remember and to understand the value of nurturing self-expression and how this leads to a true joy of learning. At first, I, as a new mom, did not yet want to let go of my son for the full day. I thought, oh, how could I give up my son to another caretaker, just because I wanted some time to myself again. But that was not why I had sought out an educational program for my son. That was just a side benefit. It was clear to me my son could really benefit from outside instruction and socialization. He was ready for the outside world, for more than I was giving him. And I had to find the right space, a safe place for him to let unfurl his gifts, whatever they may be. I enrolled him in just a half day for the first semester, but yet as I looked back towards the end of that first semester, I thought to myself, what was I thinking? This school setting is a true gift. It's like a home with the utmost respect and time given to your developing child's gifts and imagination. My child was being respected and nurtured in a very creative and compassionate manner. Lauda was right when she said, your child really needs to be here full time to fully benefit from the school and its curriculum. When I was looking for a first school experience for my son, I looked at quite a few places, yet comparing them all, I saw a unique approach here. A sincerity, a warmth, and deep respect for the developing child and their creative spirit. I really liked the environment. It was small, homey, children's art, beautiful and unique, hanging all about, an organized and clean space, and professional, yet caring and compassionate staff. This was no ordinary preschool, kindergarten, or elementary school. This was something special. Here was a sense of serenity and an intense respect for the child's imagination and drive to learn and discover. There was nothing prepackaged here in any way, shape, or form. There was a humbleness in the teachers' rapport with their students. With students at any age, the teachers see the potential of the developing intellect, but not just intellect, their spirit and soul. They ride through any issues the child may exhibit, knowing instinctively the child will begin to blossom with time under their patient guidance and support. I saw some children first starting out that needed more time than others to acclimate to being away from their parent. But that was fully understood and accepted by the staff. No matter how much crying may occur, it would soon Enough subside when the child sensed the safety of the environment, the warmth, support, and instruction of the staff, and the camaraderie of their peers. The school's curriculum was delivered in a calming climate and in a predictable and very welcoming manner. I believe we all hope a school's curriculum will bring out the gifts in our child, while each child here is recognized for their gifts and individual genius. There is a beauty at Cottage in enlisting the child to bring forth a world from within themselves, through artistic expression in many art forms, through the diversion of the spoken word and poetry, storytelling and theater, through song and folk dance. Skill development in mathematics, the sciences, and language arts is enmeshed throughout this curriculum and naturally becomes more sophisticated in its application as the child works through the grades. When I say work here, I mean work in its most satisfying sense. These children sense play as work and work as play. Hence, learning becomes a joyful experience early in their lives. I learned not to be concerned about the smaller student body or smaller school environment. The smaller class sizes allow for enhanced individualized attention, always a plus, and allow for a closer camaraderie among students. The mixed age classes help develop an appreciation of peer support for their younger or their older peers. This is a comforting thing to see and an experience that nurtures kindness and respect for other children as they mature. Bullying does not become a part of a Cottage school child's repertoire. I learned that friendships, be they yours or your child's, are made much more often outside school hours at extracurricular activities such as soccer leagues, ballet classes, karate classes. Yes, I did enroll my son in a ballet class for just a week or so, and it was more exciting for me to see him jump around with all these little girls, but at one point he made it clear that this was not for him. But it was a fun adventure. He was open to it. So I learned that friendships, be they yours or your child's, are made much more often outside school hours at extracurricular activities such as soccer league, ballet classes, karate classes, park playdates, church, etc., and only sometimes materialize through classmate associations. An open outdoor field or park is the child's greatest playground with others, not necessarily a big indoor gym or basketball court. The opportunity of creating annual plays is by far a joyful learning opportunity in a myriad ways here at Cottage. The children are encouraged to partake in the choosing of the annual play, the writing or editing of the play, scenery and prop creation, and costume design becomes a creative collaboration among staff, parent, and child. The children participate in almost all components of the annual theater production, and it shows in its authenticity and the confidence and camaraderie the children display. Over the years, it becomes second nature for the Cottage school children to produce and participate in their school plays, something that my now 13-year-old son continues to show great confidence in, joy, and shines in today at his present school setting. As a matter of fact, he jumped right on board in his current school in the theater program, and he got a significant part the first semester, and the second semester he didn't get such a significant part, but he's just happy to be part of the whole experience with the school. From my experience, I have found no other school that can compare to what the Cottage school can provide for your child. It is unique, it is a true gift that you can bestow upon your child. As a parent, you will have the opportunity to learn with inner grace and patience how to protect your child's intellect from what floats and streams day in and day out in the mainstream of our society. The early years of one's life is not the time to be subjected to addictive activities for which the child has absolutely no defenses, but for your awareness and courage to say no and present them with better. And there is so much better to offer them. Maturation, confidence, and self-awareness will bring about the strength our children will need to learn to responsibly use technology. And they will almost certainly use it with, we hope, a sense of purpose, boundary, and morality instilled within. For they will have had that initial opportunity to discover their inner strengths, interests, and talents while at the Cottage school. Yes, someday they will move on to another school, yet I recommend your child stay for as long as is possible. For the sensibility they acquire through their Cottage school experience will help shape their attitude towards life and learning for the remainder of their lives. I wish I could have kept my son here longer, yet I'm so grateful for the experience and education he received. It was life-changing. Due to a family issue, we had to move farther away from the school after our son had attended college for 4.5 Cottage. It's like a college. First college. He had attended college for 4.5 years. We sent our son to a nearby public school. Within 2 months, the school invited him to join their gifted program. Were we surprised? No, but honestly, we did not know what to expect, having never attended a public school. We really didn't know how he would do. I soon realized the work activities introduced in the gifted class at the public school were not unlike in their intensity to what was offered daily within the Cottage School curriculum. In effect, this school's gifted program was aspiring to what the Cottage School offered every day. This recognition truly gave me pause. What if all the children at this public school were permitted access to this so-called gifted program? When it was time for the public school testing, we took the attitude, oh yes, those tests, they are a nuisance, aren't they? Well, you just go right ahead and have fun with them, and with the computer you have to take them on, because this is all new to him, and we didn't want him to feel stressed out about tests. We did not fret about his performance or have him prepare for them as many parents felt they should. This, of course, seemed ludicrous, particularly at the ripe old age of 9. He scored well above average in both math and language arts. He was clearly well prepared. I attribute his smooth transition to this school's curriculum. I attribute his smooth transition to this school's curriculum content to the quality and delivery of the Cottage curriculum with all its beauty and educational expertise. I found one of the first eureka moments for me was when the director Lauda said, and this was when we first came to the Cottage School, when you go to a restaurant, you know that coloring book, that activity mat, and crayons you are given at every restaurant. Turn that mat over, turn it over. And there you provide your unique child with a blank canvas on which to create their world, their designs, their vision, not a prescribed vision. All a child learns from a coloring book is how to color between the lines, and eventually they learn to do it quite neatly. Why? Because parents keep reminding them, thinking they are being a good parent, oh, look, dear, you colored in between the lines this time. How beautiful. Beautiful, no. What is beautiful is your child's developing perspective of their world on a blank canvas. And that's what you're offered here at the Cottage School. This is what you will see at Cottage. Never underestimate the most primitive of drawings, paintings, for these are the beginnings of their individual genius, perspective of the world, soul and spirit emerging. All children should be allowed to express their genius within, to themselves and to the world without judgment. This permits a joy of self-discovery, a discovery of one's inner gifts and spirit. Through this approach, this attitude, this sensibility, they can become lifelong learners, because learning to them has now become self-expression, joyful and satisfying. This you are hard-pressed to find in any other school setting. Long ago, Lauda gave me a copy which showed the demonstration of the drawing of birds by a child that had not been growing up with coloring books. Side by side was the drawing of birds from the child having now been exposed to coloring books. It depicted clearly how very early a child's expression of their perception of what they see in the world can be lost forever to a printed page that says, here, this is the way to do it. Prescribed and ordinary, yes. Nurturing your child's imagination and unique perspective, no. You will see this at the Cottage School throughout your child's journey. Their growing imagination, their inner perspective, their drive to learn, all of which will be recognized, will be honored, will be respected. It will be handled with great care, as it should be. So, that was a mouthful, but I hope you heard it and appreciate it. My son's currently in 7th grade. He's in a public school. As I stated earlier, he jumped right into the arts program because right now, for him to kind of cope with the public school, it's his way to cope, actually, having a arts program to be a part of his daily experience. He even said to me, this helps me cope with what I have to deal with at the public school. Yeah, so
school. Leo is currently doing fourth grade.
That's what you tell me.
Fifth
Right,
grade.
we don't know what grade it really is.
He's in group 4 actually. We don't know exactly either. So.
There's no grades in any sense of the word,
He's
right?
in group 4, that's all we know.
I started, yes, so Leo has actually started school here and has stayed here. I feel like Nancy and Kathy just really summed up things in a beautiful way. So I wrote myself a couple of talking points on the way here because I'm more of a stream of consciousness person, so I might bounce around a little bit. But I feel like one of the things I would like to emphasize is the consistency and the creativity. And I don't mean creativity in the sense of the arts as much as each child is handled. Is that the way? I don't know if handled is the right word to use, but I know Leo has come to expect, because he's been here, he's always been here. He knows the schedule, he knows his teachers, he knows what's happening, and I think that gives him a source of comfort. But I also think things switch, teachers come in and out, subjects change a little bit, and the way each child is handled is creative also, depending on their likes, dislikes, abilities, and how they react to things. And I know I appreciate that because it's not only for the student, but for the family. And one example I like to give, and Lara knows this, is when Leo had to start doing homework. And she would explain to me, and every time we met, right? We just want to see what he does at home, let him do it. You don't want to tell him, you don't want to follow him around. And at first he didn't do it, but I've watched him evolve over the past few years, and he really has matured to the fact where he gets creative in how to remember how to do it, or where he leaves his portfolio, or he does it in the car, or he tells me I got it, or we'll go over it with the teachers. And every so often I'll ask him a question, and he'll say, well, that's between me and Milo, you don't need to get involved. Okay. So they really are empowered as far as what they are learning and what they are doing. So as a parent, you really can let that go.
Sorry about the noise.
Maybe.
Maybe we should bring it closer.
But it's been interesting to see him evolve also. Should I continue?
I don't want to. Fine. There we go. You can continue.
I think one of the best ways for parents to get a real sense of the school is to attend the workshops and maybe attend enrichment classes and things like that, so you can connect with the parents and see what things are about. And I was fortunate when Leo was in kindergarten to attend this workshop, and I know Andrea was there and Nancy was there, and I was able to connect with the other elementary parents. And Lada told me to swim against the tide, and I've never looked back, so she told me to do it. And it just works. And I will tell you this. Leo said to me this morning he wanted to know why the Cottage School doesn't have a high school, and I told him you should talk to Lara about it.
He can petition. He can petition.
Maybe we have to start. But yes, talking about the workshops, actually, all our workshops are free and open to the public. And our next workshop is on bullying in the age of technology. So I hope many people can come. It's really a serious problem nowadays, and it's going to be given by Dr. Jason Rocker, one of the Cottage School parents who has done our workshops too, and this time he's going to be talking about that. I'm very thankful that Andrea Filipponi is here, an alumni mother, and again, every year you show the support to the school, and we are very thankful for that. Thank you, Andrea, for coming.
You're welcome.
Would you like to give it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what everybody else said previously, but from what my girls are doing now, and they're both 15 years old. So they started here at 2.5, went all the way through 6th grade, and I think deep in my heart, what I wanted to achieve for the girls was that they had a good self-esteem. And I think for myself, I evolved over the course of my lifetime in terms of looking back and saying, okay, I was a shy girl, and then over the course of experiences, maybe felt more comfortable or empowered about the topic or the subject that I was interested in or working on. And I thought, why can't I try and instill that in my daughters at a young age? And I think I was spurred more by the presentations that the girls had to give initially, even at 2.5, you know, just to their little group, and they had to do their board and whatever was on their family or what they did at home. And I thought to myself, that's brilliant. That's brilliant that as a kid at that young an age, to empower them to feel comfortable to talk to a group of people has to make them feel good as a child, as an individual. And for a girl, for me, I think in terms of no matter how far we've progressed in society, I still think that the women, the girls, have a much tougher time of it and have a much tougher time of speaking their own and feeling comfortable speaking their own. So, you're going to be a better student. You're going to be a better participant in the high school, the college, the workplace, wherever you are, if you feel comfortable about yourself first. So that's what I think here at the Cottage School, that you have that's what you strengthen in that child. And so that's the backbone that you create here that transcends absolutely everything that the child does. And I think, I know, I can see from my girls that they feel very comfortable in terms of what they do, in terms of what they want to pursue, in terms of doing their studies, or, you know, and I think maybe being twins too, that helps a little bit in terms of their comfort zone, having each other, and they can rely on each other and don't have to worry so much about what everybody else is doing. But in general, I think they feel their self-esteem is good, and it's only going to work for them in the future. So I can't say that happens at any other school, that's something that's really strengthened or worked on or thought of as the backbone of education.
Well, Emily Vasconez was doing the school with Isabella and Tessa, right? And then she stayed for an extra year by herself. When she moved to the public school in Bernardsville, she was very soon given the role of tutoring other children. And so she was basically teaching other kids, so confident. And then she was put into all these special classes, to honor classes, and then giving tasks or awards, like they call, you know, all the things they use for creative writing. And all of this is she was not a twin of anybody. She was by herself. And not only that, she's a bilingual child, so she was able to help students that didn't speak English. So she even went farther than what any school can expect from a child, which is helping in recess time in different situations. And I heard from the school and from the mother also how important that was for those families that couldn't help their children because they didn't speak English maybe, and she was helping them right away, right after she went into 7th grade. That I think just to hear that, or how the outcome with the twins, you know, with your daughters or with Mateus, I think it tells so much about how important is the first education too, right?
Right, but the environment that's created here is unique in that, just like what we saw in Argentina, the grades from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade, they intermingle, and the older ones are able to help tutor and teach the younger kids. The older kids know that the younger kids are looking up to them, and they think that the younger kids are so adorable and cute. And when they were doing circle time and going had sort of this sort of tale where you pick a child, and so a child at 8th grade would pick somebody for the 1st grade, and you could see the 1st grader's eyes light up. He picked me. And so it was this thing that was going back and forth. It was helping both the younger kids and the older kids, this interaction with one another. And that's what happens here. And afterwards, I got my kids still involved in the neighborhood house so that they could still be teaching younger kids. And it's something that is instinctual for them. They don't even think about it.
They don't.
You know, it's what they like to do. It's fun. They love to help other kids. Doesn't matter what age. And even I can take them into a grocery store, or I can take them somewhere, and you see this younger kid, and my kids are gravitated to those younger kids to help them to be
my kids
inquisitive of
are
what
too, I
they're
have
doing.
to say, and I think they just grew up like that, knowing that they can help, other kids or other people, which is really what we need to do more and more, because we live in a community where it's very important to be helping each other, right? I want to go back to the special classes just to mention something else, because I think it's important to know when we start assigning the topics when they are in kindergarten and we say, okay, this week we're studying Antarctica, so we say that's the topic you have to research on. And we don't say you have to study about, for example, the geography or the fauna or the whatever. We don't say specifically what's the topic that they have to study, because we want on purpose to make it very broad so they can go and choose something that they're really enthusiastic about, passionate about. And I think that freedom is very, very difficult to find in any school, I would say. Because usually, and it's very difficult to find even in a job setting where you have the freedom to you have a parameter there, but then you have this whole blank page, like Nancy was saying, where you can create your own special class, your own speech, right? And the same for the teachers. They have to present a class every week, and they have the topic, maybe England, but we don't say, okay, you have to talk just about the people or the animals or because there's so much to learn about any topic that 1 year is not enough, one class is not enough, one book is not enough. So we think it's more important that the child or the teacher will explore and see what they're really enthusiastic about to present, because that passion is what is going to be projected to the whole class also.
Right, and in that, it's the passion, and it's not the grades, right? So there's a clear, for me, there's a clear separation. It's not about how much you know, and we're going to test you, and what grade do you get. It is that you're interested, what do you pursue, what takes you further, what makes you dig deeper into that subject. That the potential is, it's going to spark something in that child, and it's going to lead them to great things later. So, if they get to public school and it's just like, the tests, and I am the antithesis of any mother at these schools, because I'm always saying to my kids, I don't care what grade you get, do you understand it? Or if they didn't.
I do the same.
And my kids will say,
so
I got a 95, I did so badly. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What did you get wrong? And they'll say, I said, okay, so you're not going to get it wrong the next time, right? That's all I care about. I don't care about the grade. And once Tessa was having a problem. It was the first time she was taking a pre-ACT test, something like that. And they said she had to do math sitting in a chair like this in the auditorium. And she panicked and she goes, I can't do math without being able to write it on a piece of paper and have a desk. And so the vice principal called me and she goes, your daughter is panicking about this test in the auditorium. I said, really? I said, I don't really care. I don't care how she does on this test. I don't even really want her taking this test. I said, don't worry, I will calm her down and she'll take it. Tessa wanted a little desk in the corner of this auditorium. I said, I don't think that's probably the right thing here, but we'll just, walk her through it and say, everybody else in the room is doing it, no big deal. Somehow I'll give her a board, for God's sakes, and she can have on her lap. And the vice principal was like, what? She was like, you don't really care about her grade? And I said, no, I don't. I said, I care that she understands it. I do not care that you're teaching her how to, what's going to be on these tests. I care that she understands the material and she can transcend that material and think bigger and larger.
So
and she was like,
and
wait a second.
And just to say, you went to the best schools that you can have in the area, right? In the area and in Europe too after, right? So you study in the best schools, so you know what is really important when you go into college or after, graduate studies, you know what is important. I think we do build a foundation here.
And that's it.
I hear from my own kids, even Francisco is 19 now, and he says, I finally have a class, and I remember the moments at the Cottage school, and he's talking about from when he was here a long time ago, we didn't have elementary school, so basically from his kindergarten to then he jumped into when they put him into a gifted class, so then he felt, okay, now I can, and I think it's the ability for him to think and to create something. That's what he was missing, right? Third grade or fourth grade, fourth grade, when he was in that program, and then now all the way back in college in Boston, because he chose the college that is very progressive, and he feels, now I can be myself again. It's
but it's in there. It's deep
in there.
inside.
So he was
child.
able to keep it, but it's as far as the schooling, he feels that all the time he was in drama class, he enjoyed all that, all the creativity in the arts. But then in the classes, even taking the best classes with the best teachers that they offer, he didn't feel that space for creative thinking or creativity, right? That I think is so important, and they do build a foundation here. I mean, now we older with the alumni, that we have, the testimonials that we have, we know that it really works in their favor.
I don't know so much if the kids understand it, and just as you say, Francisco
is now in college.
Is in college and can see or can feel it in college, and I'm sure more kids can feel it in college because you have much more freedom. You can choose all your classes, and I think even for myself that was a similar type thing. It's a little bit of you're on your own, much more, but I don't know so much that my kids can see it right now. I can see it through them, but I don't think that they can really appreciate it. Right? They will. I think, and just as you say, they will appreciate it. But right now, studying so hard, they're too into the fray of everything that I don't think it is as a parent for them. But for me as a parent, I know they have those foundations. And that's what I'm happy about. That those foundations will help them through whatever they choose to do.
Well, Isabella wrote, and she says here in her testimonial, Isabella is one of the twins. She says, my last year at the Cottage School was in 2015. The Cottage School prepared us well for the public school academically. When we first started at the Black River Middle School, it seemed like we were far advanced to the rest of the class. We received good grades and made good friends at the Black River Middle School. I think the Cottage School enabled and encouraged my creativity. It allowed me to learn better than any other school would have. So somehow, and then Tessa says something similar too about how easy the academics were for them. So somehow, they appreciate, and I'm sure as, when they are older, they will see it more clearly. Like, I mentioned my Francisco because I just did a very brief interview, and he's talking about that specifically. He brought, for me it was a surprise because he brought this feeling that he had of how able he was to create, even with the little blocks that we've been using forever, it's just in circle time, and how he still has those images. He's studying design, media, and communication, and how he still has those moments, not just images, but of the little blocks and being able to create different things, and everybody around him making with the same little blocks different things.
Right.
And for him now creating a photo shoot, a design or something, it's like he brings these memories back because they're really rooted in him, right?
But I also think he has the confidence.
He has the confidence
to
yes.
organize something like that, manage a bunch of creative individuals, and sort of
Put it
make
together.
it cohesive
Yes.
and put it together.
Yes.
But I
Yeah,
think
he
the other
speaks about
point
that too.
the other point to make with the grades or no grades is that once the child leaves the cottage school, at whatever time that is, that they can make that transition easily. And I think that's a concern for many parents. It's a huge concern. And I know even in my family or surroundings, everybody was saying to me, this is horrible for the kids, they're never going to be able to acclimate, they're not going to be able to socialize, they're not going to be able to keep up with the tests, and that is a bunch of crap. That didn't happen, and not even close. They far exceeded all the other kids out there. And, I think that's a point that really has to be stressed. Because I think that there are that individuals, parents hesitate, they can't commit, but they're going to go with the norms instead of building a solid foundation.
Yes.
Well, I think too, and what you're just saying about Francisco and how important the arts are as a part of the school, and not just art for art's sake, but art is so much about communication.
Oh yeah.
That when you have a young child whose language hasn't developed yet, and you give them a paintbrush, or you allow them to weave, and they are expressing themselves and they're saying something.
Exactly.
And the whole special class, giving them, the hardest part about the special class is probably narrowing a subject down.
I know, that's work.
It's like, okay, what am I going to talk about for 5 minutes and not just talk about, randomly, random facts, and have it be cohesive and meaningful to my peers so that they learn something too. My husband has, again, a reason why my husband wouldn't like this school, my husband has, not only was he in Catholic schools, throughout his whole academic career up until college, he was in the military, and he has 2 degrees, essentially 2 degrees in engineering and a law degree. So for somebody who, he's like the epitome of structure and order. And he talks about, how the most important thing when he's looking at young lawyers is, or anybody who's, as an engineer, is if you could write and you were an engineer, you were invaluable. Because these engineers know all these concepts, but they can't express them. So the engineer who can also articulate all these, crazy, not crazy, but all these very complex ideas to other people is going to be so much more successful than someone who can, take all the tests and pass all the tests and maybe know all the formulas and know how to
That's
work
a good
them,
point.
but can't speak.
Yes, and also when you have to present, something or later on when they have to work these kids, I think we know how to do it. Like Andrea said, we know how to narrow and go to the most important part, because that is part of the whole process of presenting the class, doing the research and knowing what to present. And that is, yes, I'm glad you mentioned mention that because that is subtle there, but I know it's a lot of work, and it's a good work. It's not the work, the rote learning of learning 15 pages, you know, and knowing all the facts, and then you forget them the next week, the following week you just don't remember them anymore, which is basically what they do in most of the schools. How easy it would be to, you know, how easy but not positive, of course, you know, to just base the schooling on textbooks and then pages. You study from here to there, and then where do you go with that kind of education, really?
Now, Joseph is learning so many different interconnected, very deep concepts, whether it's through, you know, the lessons at Circle Time, or it's through his research in special class, or through his friends, what his friends are doing. As he was telling me something about one of the other children had done a presentation. Oh yeah, I know all about that concept because another child in my class had done a special class on it. So, and then, you know, they share information with each other, which is really another way that they cooperate. And again, I can't stress how much, how important that is for life, for life, your academic life, your social life, your work life, to be able to cooperate and work together with people. There's an African saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think
that's wonderful.
I think that's kind of really something that the cottage school reinforces.
My son mentions that in the interview too, that he feels empowered with that idea of that he can put something together, like Andrew was saying, but also have everybody join with their best, you know, the best they can offer. So he can see that clearly, how he can, he's directing 2 magazines actually. He's very young, but he's already he was doing that here at Cottage too, co-directing the plays. And so it's something that he's passionate about, right? But he has that feeling from when he was little, that he can put this together like a puzzle, which he always loved puzzles too, but it's something that I think you have to do at work later on, right? In any kind of job you do.
Right, but even going back to what you were saying about doing an interview with somebody that you're going to hire, and yes, writing is key, but also thinking outside the box is key. So you're going to want somebody who can look at the situation, look at the big picture, and adapt and try and figure out what's the best way to approach this. And if you were taught at a young age to just memorize, just regurgitate, just give back what they need, I can get that A. I can pass that test. But did you really understand the information well enough to be able to use it? And that enables you to think outside the box. So, you know, and I always like to go back to looking at some, you know, Mozart or Bach or any of these people that didn't really have any formal education per se, but were able to think outside the box. You know, there's something about that. And I think the rigor sometimes and just regurgitating the information doesn't allow that creativity and that ability to see further. And you know, I know when I interview people, that's what I want.
Yes.
I don't want them to give me, you know, what they think I should have. I want them to say, okay, here's our situation. How are we going to deal with it? There's always a zillion answers. How are we going to come up with the right one?
And how can you solve a problem, right?
It's a puzzle. It goes back to a puzzle.
To
You're
a
dealing
puzzle.
with a
How
puzzle.
can you solve this? I mean,
Right.
all your kids constantly here, when they were here, or now that they're here, are solving problems constantly. Because, I mean, when we put the play together, it's a great example because they do have to figure out everything from scratch. They write it, you know, we have to figure out even just from where they're coming in, joining the play. You know, if they're gonna come from the left, from the right, because we don't have a script all written, right? And then what costumes, and then who comes first, who's gonna be who, and then how many lines, is this too much? I mean, constantly, and that's just for the play. In the everyday life, they have to be solving problems too, because I still remember when Tyler, well, the whole group, you know, that with Mateos, we were doing a lot of origami. We had Japanese calligraphy with Kuniko, and we still do lots of origami in the math class. But I remember one year in particular that was like all the time. So one day we didn't have cups for water when we were setting up the lunch, and we realized, you know, just at that moment that we didn't have enough for all of them. And then the kids said, you know, right away, let's make them. So they made cones, and that's, you know, how you have paper cups, basically, making a cone. And they solved the problem in a second. So how wonderful is that if we have to live, you know, every day solving problems or situations, maybe not big problems, but just situations,
Right.
and having that resiliency that, you know, and the power they feel that they can really solve
It
the
empowers
problem.
them to know that they can come up with those solutions. I mean,
Yes.
even doing the play, the kids writing the play, it empowers them at an extremely young age.
Mhm. I think
And they
so.
see that the younger kids are looking up at them. It's all a positive experience.
Mhm.
And there's, to what you were saying about, you know, the people that were saying, oh, what's going to happen to your children after they leave cottage school and go into this other, you know, educational setting. But I have to wonder, you know, what happens to children who leave a school where they've been, or an education system where they're constantly rewarded for their achievement, but not for their effort. And then there's always this external validation on whatever their achievement was. And when you leave school, that doesn't happen.
No.
Nobody gives you a gold star for getting up and making your bed in the morning. And nobody gives you a gold star for, you know, doing a particularly good, you know, job at, you know, anything. So how do you self-motivate once you leave school? I think that's a problem for a lot of people. How do you have an internal drive?
That's right.
It's
Where
that
is-
passion.
The
That's what
intrinsic
you're trying to
motivation.
create, is that passion to learn,
Mhm.
and whatever it is.
Mhm.
And I think that's what drives them. They like to learn. They don't come out thinking that they're going to be studying math and they're just memorizing it and regurgitating it. They enjoy learning. That's what I saw,
Mhm.
right? So there wasn't that hesitation of you know, taking the English class or taking the STEM class, and you know, what were they going to do, and they have to memorize this, or chemistry. They like to learn it. That enabled them to keep going. So it wasn't, you know, your typical thoughts about, you know, a kid going to school and being nervous and not knowing, you know, what's going to happen. Can I get through the tests? Am I interested? No, they were interested. The curiosity was sparked in them, and it didn't matter what topic it was. They were interested in trying to figure it out. And that's what gets them up. That's what keeps them going, is that curiosity.
And I'd like to say, you know, turn that question around. What could happen if you take the leap and consider sending your child here up until 8th grade? What are the possibilities? And that's what we're all talking about here. What are the possibilities that could be created for your child as they grow into adulthood by coming to the cottage school? Worrying about, what will happen when they leave the cottage school? They won't fit in. Well, they're going to bring these kids who go through the curriculum here for as long as possible, bring something different to the table wherever they go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a good thing to the table.
Yeah. It's, it costs a little bit of money, okay, but it is
Far
the
rewarding.
best investment. If you can manage it, it's the most worthwhile investment to provide for your child as they develop into hopefully a wonderful adult, confident, and can fly away like a butterfly into the world.
So I'd like to say that when I started the school, going back to my son, because we did just a blog about it, about the beginning and how he was basically the first student with a group of 4 friends. That was the play group, the original group of the school. I will say now 17 years ago actually this happened. And then I had a vision because I had been teaching for a long time, for 15 years already, or even more, without a certificate because I was tutoring students when I was in high school. So the vision was there, and then I had experience, so the confidence that, okay, it was possible, perhaps because I was in a different country too, so I had to see if it really all could come together. And so then the experience came first in a different country and in a different setting than the one that I had been teaching in Argentina. And then all the words, all the things that you can see in writing on the website, on the brochure, in the brochure, excuse me. And then we finally put the mission together of the school after maybe 5 years. And these are the points of the mission. The main points are that the school nurtures cooperation, embraces multiculturalism, instills a lifelong passion for learning, and fosters creativity and innovative thinking. And so you all have been talking about this and giving a testimonial of, of the experience that your children had or have now at the school. And I have to say that I'm very happy to hear that, because one thing is to have the vision, to have a purpose for something, and then to see it happening. It's really very rewarding to me and to all the teachers really that are here. So thank you for coming and for giving the testimony.
Thank you.
We should
Yes,
say one more thing. There's one more thing. I have an offshoot of what we're talking about. I think we need to emphasize how this small size is an advantage to the students, because I think sometimes people, I don't know if we talked about this already, I'm sorry, it's not.
No,
it's a good
I
point.
think
It's a very good
we're
point.
having other meetings.
When Leah was in first grade, there were only 3 students in elementary, and it was fine. He was fine. He's fine. It doesn't matter.
Well, it's like
You
getting
know?
private tutoring, for
And-
God's
it's
sake.
so-
I mean, it's fabulous.
And he goes, that's why I was going to say, and he goes to various after-school activities. He does sports in different towns and different teams. He walks right in there. He has no issue, going to different places and doing different things. So that's an advantage. I really feel the size is an advantage.
Yeah.
I know there's
I
more
agree.
students now, and they're all different ages, but it really is an advantage, and I think that's important for
It is
the
important.
families to
It's
hear.
the quality is more important than the quantity. I'm sorry, always. And some people think with the quantity, with more students, there is more social life, and that's really not true.
But when you talk to any parent, or whether they're in public school or private school, I mean, one of the basic metrics of, whether or not that's a good school is the student-teacher ratio. And, so this small size really should never be considered a negative. It really should always be considered such a huge plus, because, the number of teachers that Joseph has, that he has personal relationships with, is so important. And that they, because of that relationship, are able to impart so much more knowledge, and he's so much more relaxed and therefore receptive of the information that is being given and joining in and participating. It's so important. So.
And you mentioned the teachers, and I have to say that all the teachers rotate, and we've had different teachers through the years, and it's just the school has not changed a bit.
Right,
I mean,
right,
the
it hasn't
experience
changed.
for
Just
Andreas twins was many years ago, and then now Joseph is here and lives. It has not changed even a little bit, because the fundamentals are there. we know what's important, and we have been able to keep it through the years, in 17 years. So the relationship they have is not just with one teacher, the classroom teacher, because that doesn't exist at the Cottage school.
Right.
They do have many teachers.
No, that's brilliant.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.